This is my wife's story. I keep telling her she needs to make a Reddit account and post it here. She refuses and insists that I would be able to tell it better anyways. That's my thing. She tells me, so fine. I'll do it. I had to work Halloween night, but my wife and some of her coworkers got dressed up and went out to the clubs. My wife loves Halloween. She loves wearing costumes and seeing other people wearing costumes. She's just into the whole scene. She loves sick and twisted horror movies like Saw and Human Centipede and shit like that. She went out that night as zombie Amy Winehouse. At the club, there was the usual sea of people. Most were in costumes. Most of the girls wore sexy, skimpy, and revealing costumes, while guys' costumes ranged from superheroes and video game characters to zombies and evil clowns, and everything in between. According to my wife, there were very few scary costumes, but one guy did stick out in particular. As my wife put it, he managed to be super fucking creepy without really trying at all. He stood off by himself in the club, a total wallflower, which made the whole effect he was going for that much creepier, I suppose. He wasn't really wearing a costume. He was in jeans and a pea coat. Basically the sort of clothes you would expect someone to wear on a typical autumn day here in our city. He was just wearing a mask. The mask was that of a woman's face. It literally looked like a face that had been freshly skinned or ripped off some young woman. It was bloody and even a little moist. My wife said it was obviously meant to look fresh. The mask was held on the man's face with a piece of twine that had been sewn or stapled to the temples of the woman's face. My wife never actually saw the man's face as he never took the mask off. He was able to drink using a straw through the mouth hole. The area around the mask, including a thick black beard he had under the mask, was glistening with fake blood. The whole effect was so creepy and bizarre, my wife couldn't help but to go up and compliment him on his awesome Halloween mask. When she approached him and complimented him, he responded by shouting, "I'm pretty." My wife just laughed and went back to her friends. They finished the night off at a different club and eventually came home for the night after the clubs had closed. The next day, my wife and I were sitting on the couch together. She was watching the local news, and since I get all my news from Reddit, I was sitting there with my laptop, Redditing away. Suddenly, my wife almost chokes on a glass of water she happened to be drinking and gasped. "No fucking way," she exclaimed. I glanced up from my screen at her. "What?" "Shh, watch and listen." She grabbed for the remote and turned the volume up. On the TV, our local news anchor was reporting. There was a picture of a young woman on the screen. Police say the young woman was last seen leaving work on Tuesday, October 30th at 5:30 p.m. Friends and coworkers reported her missing after she failed to show up to work on Wednesday morning, and all attempts to locate her were unsuccessful. She is described as 5'4", weighing 125 pounds. She has dark hair and blue eyes. She was last seen wearing a black dress and... "That's fucking her!" my wife cried to me. I had no idea what she was talking about. "That sick fuck was wearing her face. I need to make a phone call," she said, grabbing her phone and frantically dialing. "Are you phoning the police?" I asked, starting to get the idea. "I'm gonna phone Megan first. She saw the guy too," she replied, and then waved me off as she pulled the phone to her ear. "Hey Megs, are you home?" "Yeah, are you watching the news by any chance?" "Oh shit, hang on." My wife holds the phone away and turns towards me. "Can you bring up the local news website and see if they have the story on there?" I did as she asked, and sure enough, I found the website along with the story of the missing woman. My wife looked at the screen and saw the woman's face again. She then gave me a very grave and serious stare that I've never seen before. She was more sure than ever. My wife relayed the information to Megan and had her look at the website too. Immediately, I could hear Megan freaking out on the other end of the phone. Okay, I'm gonna hang up and call the police. You should do the same. My wife then hung up the phone and just nodded to me. Yep, this is really happening. She called the police and was put through to a tip line that had been set up for tips about this woman. She told the person on the tip line about the guy at the club, where and what time she saw him, and the best description she could give of him, which wasn't really that much. To her relief, the person on the tip line informed her that they were getting a lot of calls, all stating the same thing. So many calls from people who had seen the guy with the mask that the police were acting on it. All the nightclubs in our town are connected to a central security database. When you enter a club here, the first thing that happens is you go through a metal detector. Then you get a quick pat down. Then they take your ID and scan it and ask you to look straight at a security camera that takes your picture. I guess the idea is they can ban someone from all the clubs in our town if they start shit in just one of them. The police went to the club this guy was reported at, and using the database and security footage, they were able to ID him and track him down. They went to his apartment with a search warrant, and when no one answered the door, they let themselves in. They found the guy hanging in his front hall closet. He was naked, wearing nothing but the mask. In his bathroom, in a bloody bathtub, they found the missing woman, San's face. She had apparently been dead since Halloween morning, and he had hung himself sometime early November 1st, probably around the time the young woman's disappearance was hitting the news. This incident would have been enough on its own to scare my wife silly. The fact that she had conversed with a psychotic killer, albeit briefly, as he only said 2 words to her, was enough to cause some severe anxiety. The next morning, my wife, who hadn't worked since the day of Halloween, went to her car to drive to work. On her windshield, under one of the wipers, she saw a note. It was a little soggy as it had been raining the last couple of days. She picked it up thinking it was from one of the neighbors. She opened it and read it. It was a note that would have made most women's heart flutter. It made my wife go weak in the knees. The note simply read, "You're pretty."
Hey everybody, NightShifter here. If you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy it, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you think you know someone who might like this type of stuff, don't forget to share also. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, complaints, don't forget to put that in the comment section. And thank you for listening.